Natalie,
Yes.
so many of us remember the Nat the Fat Rat blog, and then we had this perception of you and your life and how great it was and cozy and all the things. But I don't actually know how you got started into that blog. So can you just start there?
Yeah. I started blogging, long story short, because cell phone minutes.
Hmm.
And when I would call my mom from New York City, where I was living at the time, she didn't have time for me. And she'd be like, "Can you call me later?" And then she would say, "Can you write me an email?" And I can be overly verbose. I can be very talkative. And so I did. I started writing her emails because I was also pen pals with my grandma, Stinger, at the time.
Oh.
And then my mom, I don't even know if she's at this point understands how to use email, but she didn't back then for sure. And after a couple of weeks of this, she was like, "You should put this in a blog." My mom's always, I think, really understood my brain and my need to express myself and to be communicative. And so she suggested that I start a blog. And so I did.
You did.
And I'll be honest with you, I don't even think she read my blog until
That's the way it
many,
goes.
many years later,
Yeah.
when suddenly I was, having a lot of readership and a lot of attention for it and making money off of it. And then I think she probably read it sporadically, but that's how it happened.
Did it take off overnight or just
Not at
no?
all. Not at all. So I started it on Diaryland,
Okay.
which is a platform that I don't even think exists anymore. It was
Yeah.
way before Blogger existed.
Okay.
And then I wrote the blog from like 2005 until about 2006, 2007. And then we moved from Brooklyn to Moscow, Idaho. And once I was living there, I was working at a tech firm doing instructional design for instruction manuals for it was a power systems accessories company. So it was
Okay.
a bunch of random stupid things. And I got really depressed, really depressed.
Sure.
And it turned out also I was really infertile at the time. And so I stopped blogging altogether for a couple of years. And I picked it back up, I want to say around 2008. And
Okay.
I picked it back up because at that point I was recognizing in myself that I was missing something. I was missing a
Mhm.
spark. Like I didn't have anything for myself. And I wanted something for myself. And I remembered really enjoying the process of writing about nonsense things in New York. And obviously in New York, everything is something.
Right.
Nothing's much in Idaho. But I thought, I wonder if maybe if I start writing again, if that might bring a little bit of a spark back to me and to my life. And so I started in 2009 writing again, 2008 probably. And it was maybe a year or so after that that I was made blog of note on Blogger.
Oh,
So way back in the day,
yeah.
dinosaur, dinosaur times, we would have these blogs and you would go up on the corner and you would hit next blog and it would just refresh and give you someone else's random stuff. And this was before we even had photos because back then that wasn't a
There weren't photos
capability.
in the blogs then?
No, it was
Oh,
all it was all text based, and you would go
okay.
next blog, and it was like a fun way. It's almost like Reddit. It was a
Yeah.
fun way of just like randomly meeting other people and reading what they
Mm.
were writing. And they started the blog of note feature that Blogger did, and I was made blog of note, and that's when it kind of took off. So it was
Okay.
about a year plus 3 years after I started initially. It was
Okay.
not overnight, but
Yeah,
it felt that way. It felt that way.
I bet. So in those few years, was like you had some readership or you were really just doing it for fun?
I was really just doing it for fun. I think I
Okay.
might have had about 5 to 10 readers a month,
Okay.
and they were just random strangers. I mean,
Yeah.
my mom knew about it, but I even told my husband at the time, Brandon, I was like, "You can't even tell your family I'm doing this," because I was like a little bit embarrassed about it. So it was
Okay.
very much just something that I did for myself.
And then after that, like it really took off.
It ramped up big time. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So how did that feel at the beginning?
When it ramped up or before?
Yeah.
When
No,
it
like
ramped
as it's, yeah.
Yeah, when it started to actually take off and gain traction, one of the things I remember most is the way that my husband at the time, Brandon, reacted to it. He thought it was the coolest thing that
Really?
and he was so pleased. And he was
Oh,
like, he was my greatest champion and he was my
oh.
best friend. And he was like one of the only consistent readers of my blog. So when it started to happen and people were reading it, he was actually the one, even before I got into like looking at the statistics, like the Google stats to be like, how
Yeah.
many readers have you had? How many comments have you had? He was following that from day one. Like he was like, Natalie, you had 60 new people watch. And I was like, okay, cool. Trying,
Great.
but that was my first real moment of, oh, this is maybe a thing.
Yeah.
And just the way that Brandon was so pleased with it, it
Mhm.
really made me happy that he was happy with it. Like he was 100% supportive.
That's
And
really nice.
yeah, no, it was really, really great. And this was before I finally got pregnant because I was infertile for a long time. And
Yeah.
so there was this like real sweet spot between when I was still infertile and it was taking off
Yeah.
before I got pregnant and before Huck was born. Because when Huck was born, things went like another 2 levels ahead. It went from
Oh.
like kind of fun to whoa kind of thing.
Oh,
It was
because
kind of
of like brand partnerships and
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, and just like the general nature of the internet at the time. So there was a
Okay.
really sweet spot between like 2008 and 2010 where I was writing stuff and I had a big group of people
Mm,
reading and commenting along. And I thought that was so fun. And then, yeah, Huck was born. We moved to New York City. And then it became a monetization sort of thing. And that's when
right.
kind of things changed a little bit.
Okay, so I just want to go back a little bit to
Mhm.
talk about your fertility journey or um just kind of walk us through like when did you first start to notice that that was what was happening and then how did you kind of evolve with that?
That's a great question. And, that's an interesting question because I think I knew it was happening before I knew it was happening, if that makes sense.
Really?
I am an ornery sort of person. And as being raised Mormon, I didn't want to be normal and I didn't want to have kids early on and I didn't want to get married young, but I did. I got married young. I got married at 20
Yeah,
and
that's
at
young.
about 23, 24, I realized, much to my chagrin, I really wanted a baby like yesterday. It kicked in. And so at that point, I already felt like I was late to the game, if that makes any
Yeah.
sense. Um, but yeah, after 2 years of trying, it wasn't happening.
Mm,
And we did some tests, and neither Brandon nor I were the problem, but also neither Brandon nor I were the solution. Like
okay.
we were both operating at about a 70% fertility level, if
Okay.
that makes sense. But it was a long slog.
Mm,
And I got pregnant finally in 2010. But it was a big, long journey and it sucked.
I
It's the
can't
kind of thing
imagine.
where all of us, we're all animals, we're all creatures, right? And we're all here to fulfill certain things. You know, we sleep, we eat, all these other things. Um, but when you're really bad at one of those things that you really thought were what you were here for,
Mhm.
what a strange experience. It really threw me for a loop.
I
And
bet.
so at a certain point, because I started back up blogging in Moscow around 2008, 2009, um, pretty quickly I started to realize that writing about my infertility and writing about that feeling and that frustration and that emptiness was a really solid way for me to cope with it and deal
Mm.
with it. And so I
That
think,
was like my first those are the first blog posts that I remember reading from you
yeah,
actually. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
Um
yeah.
how about just like the toll, did that have like a toll on your marriage, or were you guys always just kind of together on it and in sync?
It's a great question. Um, Back in the day, I would have said that we were together in sync on it
Okay.
and experiencing it together. Looking back on it now with, hindsight being 2020,
Sure.
I think a lot of part of what took so long is, and no shade to him, I don't think Brian was really into it. I
Okay.
don't think he was into it until he decided he was into it, and then things changed.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it was actually a really big it was a big strain on our marriage, actually. I remember
Yeah.
at one point, Brandon said, "You only want me for my sperm." And I was like, "Aren't you lucky that I even want you for that?" Like, what are you complaining about, dude? I don't get it. Looking back on it, yeah, he probably wasn't as in lockstep as I thought he was with me at the time.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
I'll tell you, he loves Huck so much.
Yes.
And yeah, so I know he doesn't regret it.
So sweet. Okay, so then the blog just like really starts to go nuts. At this point, are you dealing with any type of like ugliness or hate there, or
Not, well, not totally yet. So Blog of Note happened before Huck was born, and then right after Huck was born, there was a piece written in a salon about Mormon mommy bloggers. I don't know if you remember. Uh, but Huck and I, well, it was Huck, not me, were the top photo. It was Huck
okay.
in all his beautiful squishiness as a baby.
Oh,
And the article was basically Emily Machar, I think her name is, was talking about how here I am. I've got like a master's degree. I am a single woman. I do not want to have kids, but I'm obsessed with Mormon mommy bloggers. Why? Why am I obsessed with them? And when that came out, that's when things started to shift, where suddenly it
okay.
was like, at that point, I was used to having a lot of strangers reading my blog. And I had, I don't think I'd really been monetizing it yet. Not at that point. Not
Oh,
really.
okay.
But when that article came out, there was a big thing suddenly about why do Mormon moms eat so many hamburgers? It was a weird thing. It was a weird thing. That was just
What?
one tiny detail of that article was like Emily pointing out how many of us Mormon mommy bloggers talked about hamburgers. And I thought that was fantastically strange and lovely. But that's when, obviously, now that we were on like the national whatever spectrum, it was like maybe a couple of weeks later that hate forums started popping up
Okay.
about bloggers, and I started getting nasty stuff.
Mm,
That was when it shifted. I'm not blaming Emily or Salon.
yeah.
It was definitely Emily and Salon's fault. But I love hamburgers, so what am I going to say? What am I going to do?
Yeah. Okay, so as an outsider, it felt like here was this whole trajectory and this perfect life, and then all of a sudden it
Mhm.
was like blown up. And
Yeah,
I know that's not how it was for you inside of it, but what was it like and what happened next?
I want to say um, I love every time someone tells me that from their perspective, my life was so perfect and cozy and beautiful. Because you know what? It was. It
Oh.
is. You know,
Yeah.
there's so much beautiful loveliness. And I'm so glad that I took the time to chronicle that and to save that for myself.
Yeah.
I really am. And I don't think there's anything that a reader took away from what I wrote or what I intended to write that wasn't accurate or wasn't real. It was sweet. It is. It's a
Yeah.
sweet, lovely thing. But yeah, no, it got really kind of funky to the point where, yeah, so I got hired. Walt Disney Company hired me to write a blog for Babbel. I actually wrote 4 blogs for Babbel, plus my own blog. So I was churning out content like a machine. And I was
Wow.
making a lot of money. And it was so fun and a little overwhelming. We had like a 400 square foot apartment. Huck
Oh my
was sleeping in the
goodness.
closet. Like his crib fit in the closet. And we were getting like strollers that would just show up, or like pots and pans sets, and we didn't even
Just so
have
much swag.
so much swag. And you know, my sisters and my mother loved it, and all of my friends at church loved it. They were like, what kind of leftovers you got for us right now? I was like, literally, someone sent me brow gel in 12 different colors. Can you take these off of my hands? Like, that was the spin. And it was fun. It was delightful. But I was aware at the time, though, because someone, Gabby Blair, love you, Gabby, but it was a terrible recommendation. She told me that I should set up a Google alert so that if anyone talked about me online, I would know.
Oh, no.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
No.
I mean, if you're the kind of person like Gabby is, where you're savvy and like you're aware that you're creating a product and you're like Martha Stewart style, like curating a thing,
Right.
yes, go for it. If you're me and you're just like an open bleeding heart, don't do that. But I remember, I think Huck was about 3 or 4 months old, and I got a ping on my phone from Google being like, someone referenced you, and I went to the link, and that was when I first discovered that people hated me.
Oh.
Hated me. And they were talking about my nose and my forehead and my face, and she's so obnoxious, and whoa, all these different things. And I thought it was kind of funny, to be honest with you. I thought it was really funny the first time I saw it. Probably because I was like partially half asleep and looking at being like, yeah, no, I could have told you. I don't like my nose either. Whatever. But after a bit, it became really loud, really noisy. And it was the kind of thing where even before Kim Kardashian broke the internet, I broke the internet. They had to actually open a whole new thread of a hate forum on this website for me, because I ratcheted up more than 2,000 pages, and they had to make me a new one.
Oh my goodness.
You know, and I think, here's what I think it's about. I think, and I stand by this to this day, I think that when you are in a closed environment, right, where you have so much in common with so many other women in the same situation as you, it becomes really easy to bifurcate a little bit and to get, you know, if I say this out loud, I'll feel better. That kind of thing. And so I think there was so much catharsis wrapped up in it. A lot of it I didn't take personally.
Okay.
But at a certain point, you know, you have to take it personally, because it's like,
yeah.
Well, it was me and a whole bunch of other people too. But yeah, it was kind of a thing. It was kind of fun. Kind of an experience.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, not many people can say they've been, you know,
Hated
broke the internet on a hate thread. So
I'm so proud of it. I mean, honestly, it is kind of a unique thing to say. People care about me enough.
Exactly.
It ratcheted up eventually the amount of money I was able to ask from sponsoring partners, because I was like, guess what? Not only do I have a very engaged, really rad group of people who read my blog, I also have a lot of haters. So, yeah.
What happened when you stopped blogging?
So I stopped blogging in 2016. I stopped blogging for a couple of reasons. First of all, I had wanted to stop blogging for a long time.
Okay.
Before 2016. I think it was around when I was writing my book. So 2013, 2014, 2015, when I was just like, you know what? I hate this. I think I got to the point where it just, the amount of attention, the amount of visibility that I had, I mean, I am an introvert. I don't want to be looked at that much. And it was starting to reach a point where I was just like, and I started to fantasize, like, I'm just going to take my blog off the internet. I'm just going to cancel my blog. No one's going to know what I did. Why did I
Yeah.
do it? Where did she go? I started fantasizing about that for a couple of years.
Mm.
And then we were living in New York City, and my husband at the time, Brandon, decided that he needed a change of scenery. We moved back to Moscow, Idaho, which was not my first choice, last choice. It was not my idea of a fun.
Okay.
We moved back to Moscow, and Huck was about 6 years old, almost to turn 6. And I realized I cannot blog through my divorce. I cannot blog
So
through
you
this.
were already getting a divorce at that point?
Yeah. So it was April Fool's Day, 2016, when Brandon dropped the news that he thought we should divorce.
Okay.
And
Did you have like an idea beforehand, or was it like so out of the blue?
it had been such a negative marriage for so many years at that point that
Okay.
looking back on it, I'm just glad he pulled the trigger first. Someone had to.
Yeah,
Someone
I
had
get
to.
that.
And at that point, it wasn't my idea. I didn't want it. I thought we had a couple more years left in us. I thought we could, rally. I thought we could rally.
Yeah.
But he decided it was time to be done. And it was 2016. Huck was 6. I had already been tired of blogging and tired of the attention for a long time. And so that's when I was like, you know what? This is my chance to go out.
Yeah.
Because I don't have the wherewithal to blog through a divorce.
Yeah.
And Huck was at the age where there was nothing appropriate to say about him.
Right.
Like even if I like gave him a strange moniker or like blurred his face out, there's literally nothing about him that belongs to me at that point. He belongs to himself.
Yeah.
So I was just like, that's it. And so I remember distinctly the day I took it down. I put everything on private, including all my social media accounts, just took it off. And it felt so good.
Did it?
It felt amazing.
Did you have any type of like, oh, I can't believe I'm like fear or anything like that?
No,
No.
just extreme relief. It wasn't
Wow.
until about a year later when the divorce was finalized and I realized I needed a job.
Sure.
And then I was like, fuck.
Yeah. Should I just put that back up?
No, I was not willing to. In fact, that's something that's been like a constant for me is, I flirted back and forth about whether or not to go back to blogging because I know that it's there. I know I have such an incredibly lovely group of followers, even still to this day.
Yeah,
Like, we follow up with
absolutely.
each other. I know that's an option. I know that it's there, but I would prefer not to.
Okay.
I prefer to write books or to do something else. But yeah, going back to blogging has not I flirted with it. I got a job out here in Oregon.
Okay.
At a startup that folded. It was a startup. It was mismanaged. And so I worked there for about 6 months and then it closed. And I was like, okay, just for the sake of actually living and paying for groceries, I have to go back. And I did. I went back for maybe 2 or 3 months.
Really?
Blogging. Yeah, just to be like, something has to Band-Aid this time in my life so that we have, money for the bills. But as soon as I got another job, I found myself really allergic to blogging and social media. And it's been kind of an interesting journey for me, even now to this day, how I relate to Instagram and I come and go on it.
Yeah. So you were mentioning early that you grew up Mormon and then you were at BYU. Are you still Mormon? Okay. So there's been some kind of like deconstruction of faith or, what's that been like? Where are you at?
Okay. So I've started doing a series because I'm trying to write again. And so to hold myself accountable, I've been doing Instagram Live bedtime stories where I read.
Now that's brave. You couldn't pay me to do it live.
I've been reading old blog posts and old book chapters that I wrote. And I just read about this last night. Square peg, round hole. So, I, born and raised Mormon. I come from a very, my great grandpa was a polygamist. Love that
Okay.
for him. Love that for us.
Well,
Um, very Mormon, very, very Mormon. My dad is one of 11 kids. I
okay.
have over 65 first cousins. I,
Whoa.
yeah, as the oldest of four in my family, I always took the church to be something that made my parents really happy. And I love making my parents happy. I'm an
Yeah.
oldest daughter and I'm a Libra. Let me make you happy. I will do it. I had a testimony of spirituality. I believe still that there is something greater than us, that there's something magic, that there's
Mhm.
something special. And it's out there and it's there for us to connect to. But from the very beginning, the church never really did it for me. It just wasn't ever something that made a lot of sense to me. But I knew why I was a Mormon. It was for my family. Um, and so basically, my whole life, I was just there for the sake of my parents and my family. And I remember when I first started dating Brandon, one of the things I really liked about him, we met at BYU. One of the things I really liked about him was that he had gone through a couple of periods of inactivity in the church,
Mhm.
which is a
Okay.
fancy way of saying he came and went, you know, and I
Okay.
liked that about him. I liked that he was different and
Mhm.
that he seemed to match my same skepticism, I guess, about the church. We got married in the temple. We were very law abiding Mormons for a long time. And, I started to fall way out of love with it, probably the year before Huck was born. And then there was a real moment at a general conference. I don't know if you're familiar with this jargon, a general conference session where this guy, his Elder Oaks, whatever his actual first name is, I don't know, was digging in really hard about how gay marriage was a sin and it was wrong. And I remember sitting and listening to it and being like, this strikes me in a really negative way as something that I can't put my name to. I knew that I was a Mormon mommy blogger. I had gotten that name. I had been branded that, even though I wasn't a
Yeah.
mom for most of my time blogging. But I knew that that was what was attached to me. And I thought, I cannot be attached to this.
Mm.
I just cannot. I cannot in good conscience sign my name to this.
Mhm.
And so it was a couple of months maybe while, Brandon and I in our own private lives, made decisions together and talked about it. And then I wrote a post being like, guess what? I'm out, more or
Okay.
less.
How
kind of.
was that received?
You know what? It was one of those things where I got more comments in the 3 hours after I wrote it than I've ever gotten on my blog. I
Really?
had over 400 comments in 3 hours of people
Wow.
sharing their feelings too. Overwhelmingly supportive.
Oh,
And
okay, great.
my mom called me.
Oh, no.
I was
The
like,
one
"Oh,
post she reads.
probably should have told you in advance I was going to say this out loud." And she was like, "We're never going to go to the temple together ever again." And I was like, "Mom, we've never gone to the temple together ever. What?" But she was she was really upset about it. And I remember thinking, oh shit, I guess there are consequences to my actions. But I've never looked back. Never, never. It was the right thing.
Okay.
I'm grateful that I let it sit and stew as long as
Mhm.
I did before I pulled that trigger, because I think that was the
Has
right thing to do.
has your family been supportive?
Yes. I mean,
Okay.
at this point, I'm oldest of four, and only one of my siblings is still active in the church.
Okay.
And I do remember my sister Alexandra uh, texting me a couple of weeks after that post landed. Because I also made the monumental decision to get a tattoo.
Okay. That's a big no?
It's a big
Okay.
no in the Mormon church, but I was obsessed
Okay.
with tattoos my whole life, and so I got my first of many. I've got a lot now. And Alexander texted me to be like, "Hey, I was talking to Dad, and I said, 'Hey, Dad, how do you feel about Natalie leaving the church and getting a tattoo?' And she said that my dad said back to her, 'She looks like herself for the first time in a long time.'"
It's amazing. It's
I
really
just
sweet.
love that. I love that
I
so
love
much.
it.
So yeah, it worked out okay. Family wise, of all of my 65 million gajillion first cousins, it's almost a 50-50 split between
Okay.
how many of us are still in the church and how many of us aren't.
Hmm.
And I remember when my grandpa Lovin, my dad's dad, he was dying. This was in 2016. This was during my divorce, a few years after I left the church. And he told me, he was like, "I know I'm going to see you in heaven, and no one can tell me otherwise."
Co-parenting is tricky.
Sucks.
Um,
Yeah.
what have you learned and how have you guys navigated that?
So now that Huck is 14 and he has his own cell phone, one thing I'm really coming to grips with is the fact that sometimes Huck and his dad will have communications and not tell me.
Yeah.
And a few times I'm like calling Brandon up on the phone, being like, "Dude, Huck said you made this decision and you did not tell me. And can we like talk for a minute?" And then Brandon always gets like kind of like paranoid and terrified and like, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." 'Cause he's afraid of me, as he should be, because I am terrifying and always right. Um, he lives in Corvallis, which is 2 hours south of here. So he is a professor now at OSU. He teaches accounting at OSU. And I live in Beaverton. It's it's tricky. It's really
Yeah.
hard because we have in our divorce paperwork that it's 50-50, which governs how much child support I get. I don't have any alimony, but I have Huck 75% of the time because he goes to school in Beaverton and
Yeah.
he's with me most of the time. He's with his dad on the weekends, but not even every weekend. It's kind of here or there.
Hmm.
So it's the kind of thing where, on the one hand, I really enjoy and appreciate the autonomy that I have. Like, I am the boss.
Yeah.
I run this roost. Huck is my chicken.
Hmm.
But it is frustrating because there is this sense of entitlement, maybe. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but there is always the sense that Brandon has his rights and he has what he needs, and making sure that he gets the time with Huck because Huck needs a dad. Huck loves his dad. And
Hmm.
so it's kind of a hard balance.
Yeah.
I'm working full time. I've got a dog who eats cat poop. And I got this kid, and we're kind of making it work. But every now and then, like, I could use some support. So, but
Absolutely.
I mean, that's how I feel like the 50-50 split actually really lives, is because I get 50% not support, but also 50% independence. And so,
Yeah.
you know, we're making it work. He's 14. He's perfect. He's beautiful. I
Oh,
love him. He is my favorite thing.
it's
So,
amazing.
yeah.
I mean, no one will tell me that teen boys aren't just the most phenomenal
You're phenomenal. They
people to be around.
smell so bad.
They smell terrible, but
Oh,
they're so funny
in
and
the bathroom
they're
with never.
still like babies even though they're so big, and I'm just always like caressing their little faces and like
And recently, we have this routine every night at 10 o'clock is when it's like, okay, it's Mom and Huck bedtime story time. And we go upstairs and we watch Project Runway
I
together.
love that.
He's an incredibly artistic, thoughtful person. He's a Scorpio. So he's also, terrifying. But we watch it together, and I just love watching his reactions on his face when he sees something and he's like, "Oh, I like that," or when he's like, "Why is she being so mean?" It's like, I feel like Project Runway, apart from like the Great British Baking Show, are the
Yeah.
only two reality shows that I can handle.
Right.
But he gets really into it, and I like watching him react to it. And then he gets inspired and starts to draw. It's cute. I love him. He's
It's
my
so
favorite.
cute. I love that. So there must have been a time period after blogging and
Mhm.
starting this new part where you really had to kind of like rediscover yourself, I would think.
Yeah.
Did you feel that way? And how did you do that?
I still feel that way,
Okay.
to be honest.
I do too, but
I still feel that way. I was actually just talking to a coworker today. We were talking about Bagu. I have a lifetime 30% discount at Bagu.
nice.
And I was telling her about it because she was saying she wanted one. And I was like, I can order it for you and give it to you. And she was like, really, really? And I was like, yeah, because I used to be an influencer. And then as I was even saying that, I was like, can I even imagine what it's like to be these two people at the same time? Like, here
Yeah.
I am, this dowdy 42-year-old woman who works at Nike and writes training content and gets bad performance reviews sometimes. And I walk around being like, wow, this is not, who I thought I used to be. But then I
Yeah.
remember who I used to be. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, who even was that person at this point? I mean, it's still me. I'm still the same
Yeah.
person, but such a bizarre contradiction between
Yeah,
these
that seems really hard to wrap
two
your head
people.
around.
But I don't think there's anything unique necessarily about that. I think that's like you were saying earlier. I think all of us, to one extent or another, especially if you're in perimenopause like I am, I think we're all experiencing that weird disconnect between who we are and who we used to be,
Yeah.
and who our ideal selves are, and whether or not we are those people from minute to minute. And it shifts,
Yeah.
hourly sometimes. I think it's something that's just really universal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. Let's talk about perimenopause now that you
Oh,
brought it up.
yes, well, please. It's tough, first of all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What'd you start noticing?
Well, okay, so funny story. My mother started menopause when she was 36.
Whoa.
She gave birth to my brother. She went through a period of sorry, Mom, hope you're not watching. She went through a period of the baby blues,
Mm-hmm.
and then suddenly she was going through this long, protracted perimenopause situation, and it took about 15 years
Wow.
before she was finally out of it.
And you knew about it, like you were aware of
At
her
the time.
situation.
Yeah,
Okay.
in fact, I remember making a joke about hot flashes. It must have been maybe 12, 13, 14.
Oh, wow.
And I made this joke about hot flashes, and she got really mad at me. And I was like, okay, not a thing I can joke about.
Do not talk about that.
So from the time I turned 36, I was expecting it. I was waiting for it. I was
Wow.
like, when's it going to hit? When's it going to hit?
Yeah.
And it wasn't until last year
Mhm.
that I knew it hit. Night sweats, hot flashes, brain fog. Oh my gosh.
The brain fog.
Brain fog. And then my skin doing weird things on my neck where I was like,
Yeah.
what happened to my skin? Yeah.
It feels like just a nightmare of embarrassment. Like it's just one thing after the next where you're like,
Yes.
is this really?
And then I'm being like, is it just me? Is it just me? It's really hot in here. And they're like, no, I'm cold. And I'm like, no, it's freaking hot in here. Yeah. And so I had been telling my doctor for years. I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm going to start menopause tomorrow because I'm late. I should have started at 36, according to my mom and her schedule.
Yeah.
And so when it finally happened, he was like, are you sure? And I was like, uh-huh. And then he brought me to the women's clinic. And I've had a lot of doctor's appointments over my life because I have ADHD and I have to go in every 3 months to get my prescription for Adderall or Vyvanse re-upped because it's a controlled substance. So I have seen a lot of doctors, but I went into this women's clinic And it was the most delightful, most wonderful, self-affirming
Really?
experience I ever had, because I sat there and I was like, I'm pretty sure I'm dying. And they're like, tell me more. And I was like, yeah, so my boob hurts in a weird way. And they were like,
Mhm.
are you, what's your appetite like? And I was like, I'm just kidding. It was like the most self-affirming conversation. And then I left with a prescription for estrogen and progesterone. So I've been taking that for about 6 months.
Okay.
Cleared up my brain fog. Has
Good.
not cleared up the night sweats, not yet. But
Okay.
we're one day at a time.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Natalie, just in hearing your story, there must have been some times where you were really low. That's me guessing, but
You're
if
not
it
wrong.
was me, I would be in some dark places at some times. And when you have gotten to those, how are you able to pull yourself up? Because I think we have a lot of listeners who can relate to that.
Yeah. Well, I have to tell you, sometimes I've been able to do it all by myself and pull myself out of a funk, either by starting to write or by, waiting for it not to be dark at 3:30 in the evenings,
Yeah.
situational type things. But a real big thing that's been enormously helpful for me is cognitive behavioral therapy. I first started going through CBT when I was, I don't know, 30, 32, 31, 32. It was right before I ended up leaving the church. And I think it was probably instrumental in helping give me that clarity. I was having panic attacks on the hour almost. It was the kind of thing where I'd be walking around the city with Huck and his stroller and things seemed fine. And I would be hit with this overwhelming wave of nausea. And I honestly thought for about 3 months straight that I was coming down with a stomach bug, like every single day. And I had I had lost my appetite altogether, and I became so lethargic and tired all the time. And I went through this book, and now I'm trying to think. The Feeling Good Handbook is what it's called. The Feeling Good Handbook, and I can't remember the name of the author, but it's like a workbook sort of situation. And one of the exercises, one of the paragraphs that really spoke to me was he was talking about this woman who he was counseling, and she had said, I am the worst mother ever. My child is failing. I am failing. Everything is terrible. And he said to her, wait, are you actually failing? Like, let's challenge that thought. Are you actually failing? What are you doing well? And she was able to list off like a dozen things that she was doing well. And he was like, so why do you feel like you're failing? And why do you think that your child is failing? And she was able to list off a dozen things that he was doing well. And like, I remember reading that specific chapter, that specific paragraph in this book and going, and it was kind of stupid because it wasn't a one-to-one correlation, but I was thinking, if I barf on the subway, people are going to help me and I'm going to be okay. It won't be the end of the world. If I need help, people will be there to help me. Like, it's not all or nothing. It's not black and white. And for whatever reason, like, it was a snap in my brain that like shifted my perspective on things. And I stopped having these nausea attacks. I stopped having these panic attacks because I recognized in that moment, like, okay, follow the disturbing thought to its conclusion, right?
Yeah.
Sit through it. So what if that happens? Then what? Then what? And you start to realize it's going to be okay. The worst case scenario, we're going to be okay still. And also, I'm a little bit of a fatalist. And my favorite thing to think is we're all going to die eventually. And so not a lot of people find that comforting, but I do.
No.
Eventually, I'm going to be dead. And is this going to be anything that's worth it? No. So stop it. Right? I don't know. That like was one of the big turning points in my life. Since then, I have a therapist. I see her every week. I'm obsessed with therapy.
Same.
recommend it
Changed my life.
for everybody. I think that managing your personal needs, medicine wise, medication wise, diet wise, exercise wise, really taking yourself in for a checkup and being like, and being really frank and honest with people who know better than you, and
Mm.
not lying and not hedging around the truth, and just being like straight up, this is what I'm feeling. This is what I want to feel instead. And let them tell you what to try, and then try it. But also know it's not the end of the world if it doesn't work. And it's not the end of the world if it does work. We're going to be here until we're not. And every single day we're going to have different things. And so just being open-minded and being willing to humble yourself enough to ask for help, and then also not to take it so seriously.
I love that. Great job sharing, Natalie. That was good. We probably need to be wrapping it up, but I feel like I could ask you questions like all night.
Thanks.
So I'll try to keep it short, but I did want to know, like, just in your Mormon faith and the blogging days and trying to be, you needed to be perceived as something, like, how has your relationship been with your body? And now you're in menopause and it's a whole different thing. So what has that been like for you?
It's not great, Bob. I'll be very brutally honest. I struggle with this a lot.
Okay.
I come from a family of disordered eaters.
Okay.
And body dysmorphia and perfectionism. And, I was raised in the 80s, and like most of us raised in the 80s, bodies are not our friends. And we love our bodies. We love them. I struggle with it. I struggle with it a lot. When I was living in New York City, it was a great time to be alive. I love New York City. I love the pace. I didn't even know I had ADHD until I left New York City, because in New York City has ADHD, and so do I, and we're good. We're on the same page. Walking all day long. I felt like I was in the best shape of my life when I was living in New York. There were some times when I was living in New York where I got really skinny because I was stressed and I was not healthy. So that's something that I'm aware of, and I'm always trying to check myself to make sure that my expectations for myself are realistic and not based on, because I think something that a lot of people with eating disorders can kind of like maybe relate to is when you are that skinny, it feels like armor. You feel protected because your body is in survival mode. You're hardly even nourishing yourself. And so you feel kind of impenetrable in a strange way. And so I'm really always trying to check myself and recognize that, I've gained 20 pounds since I left New York City, 30 pounds since I was at my worst and unhealthiest, and trying every day to just kind of come to terms with, this body gave birth to Huck. This body has done all these things. And I look in the mirror every day and I'm like a little disgusted by what I see. But I felt that way even when I was at my skinniest. There's no escaping it. I'm going to feel that way no matter if I'm 500 pounds or 5 pounds, And so I just try really hard to give myself grace and to recognize that and to remind myself that. But more than that, what I really want to do is demonstrate that grace to other people around me, other women around me. I work at Nike. So I'm surrounded by a lot of physically fit people, but I'm also surrounded by a lot of old people and a lot of young people, and just trying to constantly be a reinforcing voice for the fact that we're all beautiful, however it looks, however it feels. We really are. I cannot think of a single person that I've ever known who I would judge for their size.
Yeah.
Why do I do it to myself? So it's a daily practice. When I'm dead someday, I'll just move on. I'll be
We'll
skinny.
just go back to that.
I'll be the skinniest I've ever been. And
There you
at
go.
that point, we can worry about it then.
Okay. So, you recently went back to New York and you
Yes.
brought your son. So how was that? Magic.
It was magic. And I'll be honest, I put it off.
Okay.
I wanted to go back, but I hadn't been back since 2015. It had been almost 10 fucking years since I went back there. And a lot of it was, I knew that the minute I stepped foot back there, I was never going to want to leave. And it was going to give me an incredibly dissatisfied feeling with everything going on here. And I've been trying really hard to make this place here work. So I knew once I go back, there's no turning back. I'm going to want to be there forever. But Huck turned 14 this year. I turned 42. He was born 10/26/10. I was born 10/2/82. It was 10/20/24. Like the numbers were just right. And I was like, let's do it. Let's go. We went, and it wasn't even like, it was so fun. It was so much. It was delightful. Huck is, he was born in New York City. He is a New York baby. And, but he also hadn't been back since he was 5. And so when we first got there, I said, okay, what's your first request? What do you want to do first? And he's like, I want to take public transportation. And I was like, okay. So we did. We landed in LaGuardia, and then we took the A train, and we stayed at a hotel in Midtown. So I had my luggage and he had his luggage, and I was like, I bought the Metro card, cried buying the Metro card. It was not the last time I was crying over something stupid, but I bought a Metro card. I got all misty, and then I was like, okay, Huck, are you ready? Follow me. We had to go like 3 flights down because it was the A train, which is like down. And so I didn't even prepare him. I was like, here we go. We're going in. Let's go. And I went down, and then I turned around to see how he was doing, and his whole face was flushed, and he was sweaty, and he was like trying to carry the luggage down the stairs. And when he got down to the stairs, a rat scurried across the platform. And I said, what do you think? He's like, I said it would be like this, but I didn't believe it. And then we got out at the end of the subway train, at 34th Street. And we walked out, and it was nighttime, and it had just rained, and it was glistening. And the first thing you saw when you came out of the subway station was fucking Empire State Building. And Huck was just like, he was agog. He was aghast. His whole face lit up. And I was like, hi, welcome home. It was like not even the next day that he was like, Mom, I want you to start blogging again so we can move back home. And I was like, do I have to blog again for work? Or can we find a different way to get there? But it was the kind of thing where, I was a little bit concerned about the idea of spending 5 days straight with just my 14-year-old kid, being like, what are we going to do with ourselves? But he is just such a natural companion for me. Like, I found us sitting on the subway a few times, just falling into silence together and being like, huh. And it reminded me, like, yeah, when he was a baby and we lived in New York City, this is what it was like, we just were good companions. And it was just so much fun to experience that with him again. And yes, please, someone figure out how to get me back to New York, please.
Yeah.
Huck would appreciate it. He's asking for it.
On that note, what's next for you? What's something you'd really like to do or achieve, even just in the next year, short-term goal?
I want to write another book.
Yeah.
I really do. I'm not sure what it should be. But I have this idea in my head about writing a book about my chickens. I used to have chickens back in Idaho.
Okay.
The idea of like a children's book about my chickens and the various things I got
I love it.
back then. I think so. Do you know what else I want to do? I want to go back to ballet classes again. I got out of the habit during the pandemic, and I want to get back into the habit of going to ballet.
I don't know where you're finding adult ballet classes because,
Northwest.
someone was just on here and was like, you have to do what you're passionate about. And I was like, really? If I could just dance every week,
Yeah.
I would be a really happy individual.
So
It's the thing I need. But
would you like to move to
adults?
Portland? Because I have an adult open ballet class that I think you would really enjoy.
Okay. Yeah, apparently Central Arkansas is not the space for adult dance classes. It's so weird.
What? Take a teenage, you know what? Find a studio. Do you know what else I think? I honestly think bar classes, not it.
It's not the same. It's not the same. I don't like them, and everyone's like, oh, you're going to love it. I don't.
So stressful. They scream at you, and I'm like, no. Give me first position plie, and I'm okay.
Yeah.
I hope you find a class. I think you will. I think a class will come to you when you least expect it, and you're going to be like,
okay. We'll manifest it. I've said it out loud.
It is. It exists now.
Oh, I just loved having you here. I loved having you here. I found every bit of your story to be inspiring in the way you've done so much and then pulled yourself back up and then you pivot it and you keep going, and it's really beautiful.
Thank you.
I'm so grateful that you came and you shared.
Yeah. Thank you, Chelsea. Yeah. And thank you again for those of us listening. Chelsea has been the most amazing patient person. I canceled on her a bajillion times.
Yeah, this one was hard fought, and it was worth it. It was worth it. It's 10 o'clock at night. I'm beat, but this was worth it.
You got some incredible karma coming your way. Thank you so much. This was a lovely pleasure. I really appreciate it.